Hey there, welcome back to Hardy Brothers Outdoors. Josh Hardy here. Today I wanted to spend a little bit of time talking about our 4-acre pond that we have here in southeastern Ohio. I've had a number of people ask me about the pond and I thought I would talk a little bit about what it takes to maintain this pond. And it's been about 3 weeks since we were here. We had some time down in South Carolina, did some fishing, beach time down there. It was a great time. And when I got back, I've got a number of issues that I need to take care of. Especially coming up, we have about 15 to 20 family members coming in the first week of August to hang out and enjoy the property. So got to get the pond under control. You know, people that don't live around the country around a pond don't fully understand what it takes to maintain it, and may not want to get in it to swim and have a good time. We've got, you know, boats, and we swim and we float and we do all kinds of stuff out here, fish. And some things make it you know, really easy and enjoyable, and some things make it not so much. So along the bank here and in various areas, we have duckweed. Duckweed is the bright green stuff that you see there in the water. The other stuff is just a floating algae. And this pond is probably about I'd say about 60 years old. So we also have a huge issue with muck. And I don't know if you can see down in the water. I'm wearing polarized glasses so I can see quite a ways in. There's a lot of fish beds down here at this end. And you know, you can see where they've dug down into the muck, and the muck is, you know, it's extremely thick. I'd say in this area right here, 2 to 3 feet deep. Muck comes from the breakdown of these basically of organics. And I was watching a video the other day that Mike Morgan was doing as he was working on his pond in the woods. It looked like maybe a 1/4 acre, 1/2 acre pond, and he said really tough to maintain ponds in the woods. Well, I'm with you, Mike. It is a constant battle, constant chore, because all of these leaves and all of these pine needles and all of the pollen and all of the algae that when it dies, and I don't know that he has to treat for algae. His pond looks a little shaded, but all of that sinks down and turns into muck. So I have a variety of products that I use to help break down the muck. I have aeration system with 3 heads in the pond. I'd like to get more. That helps feed the beneficial bacterias, which I add to the pond to help eat that muck. And it works pretty nicely. But, you know, with 60 years of debris in the pond, it's never going to go away entirely without having a full dredge operation done here. So at least I don't think so. I'm going to keep battling it as naturally as I can with, you know, muck blocks and different products. I'll leave the products that I use down in the description. You might be thinking to yourself, why would you talk about the products you use? Your pond doesn't look that great at the moment. Actually, it's not too bad. I mean, what we have here is floating algae. That needs to be treated about every 2 weeks. And I have a little bit of other stuff out here in the deeper water that needs some herbicide. I misdiagnosed it as a chara plant, and it actually is a chara algae, and treated it with algicide, and that's actually a plant. So it needs to be treated with herbicide. I also have some American pondweed. I let it continue to grow. I don't know why. Maybe I just thought it would stay isolated. It started last year, and I got a little patch here. I've been treating it with diquat, killed off about half of it. I need to come back and treat it again with a diquat herbicide and some surfactant. Along the bank, you can see it needs mowed. I used to do this by hand with a weed eater. It'd take me 2.5 hours, and it was brutal to do that. I just got scared by a frog. Now I have an offset flail mower that I use, but I only use it a couple times a year. It's not a delightful attachment to use. I need to learn how to use it better, but this little curvature down to the water is enough to make my tractor feel a little unstable. So there's some work to be done there. We also have lily pads you can see down past the dock there, and the lily pads are something that I've let kind of go. Every now and again I'll go spray them, and what I need to do is consult some experts to make sure I'm using the right stuff to kill them all the way down to the roots, because I think they're continuing to multiply. I don't mind them. There's some pretty, you know, lilies on them and stuff at different times of the year. If you've ever seen a pond that's taken over by them, that's a bad sign. And any kind of vegetation growing is a sign of too many organics in your pond. So, you know, once it gets to that stage, it's an issue. You need to address it. So we're going to do that. This point out here is covered in floating algae. I usually do the bank with a pump sprayer, walking around. I got a real nice Chapin backpack sprayer that I use, and I can touch just about everything I need to from there. But I also have a 3-prong hose that I use off that Chapin out of my boat, and drive around and disperse chemical underwater as well. So that point out there is very shallow, very shallow. Great place for the fish to spawn, and I don't always get out there with the boat, so it's looking a little bad too. I really don't care how it looks so much, but that stuff breaks up and floats around, and that's probably some of what lands around my edges here. Now, this dock is about 6, 7, maybe 7 years old. My wife and I built this out of treated lumber and food grade barrels. I think I paid $10 or $15 off of Craigslist, and then we bought the lumber back then, threw a ladder on it. But we've got, I think it's 8 by 16 at the end. These are 4 or 5 by 12, I want to say. So 12, 12, and 8, 32 feet out to the end, plus the plank. That gets us out past any of the muck. And that is nice because we don't have to get in and out of the water there. So we use this ladder here and get in and out. Across the pond there, you can see a wood duck house. There's another one back there behind that tree that's down. There's actually another one further back. You can just see the green roof on it, and another one further back. Those are all going to be replaced with houses I've built with the 50 house project. We did have wood duck breed here this year, and we saw babies. We may have had them other years, but we just weren't here and didn't catch them out and about. But we did see them this year. Beaver. Beaver's another thing that we have to address out here. We've had 3 that we've trapped out of here. I've got some video, if you're interested in trapping, that kind of goes through my learning on how to trap and the successful trapping of the I think I only did the second one. I don't recall. I've got a couple of them out there, but and more recently had to get another one. A beaver can come in here and clear hundreds of trees and saplings, drag them into the pond, and it's just a real mess. So I wish I could love the beaver because they're a fantastic creature, but not on my pond. And I've talked to the DNR, and they've said as soon as you see them, get rid of them. They're you know, the world's largest, or America's largest rodent is what they actually are. So another big project I have coming up is this dock. So this dock is anchored on the corners using 5-gallon buckets full of concrete with a chain down, keeps it from swaying. But at the end up here, I have these 2 posts, and the solution that I had used is not working. So I've got some new stuff that I bought from Menards, specifically made for exactly this, that allows the dock to go up and down without binding, and that should be good. So the fishing here, I talked about earlier about dredging, and that's not something I want to do. The fishing here is fantastic. So when I got here, there were bass, bluegill, crappie. That's all we tried. We put out jugs to see if we could catch any catfish. No catfish. I had some turtles in there. I added 200 the first spring. I added 200 channel catfish, which are getting pretty good now. I'd say they're probably up to the 4 or 5 pound range. I added 200 more crappie, and I think they're the white crappie. One of the 2, black or white crappie, one of them can overtake a pond, but I think we've got a healthy enough bass population that we don't have to worry about that. So I've since added more red ear, and I added perch. Love to eat perch, but they've been hard to catch. And I think I added 2 or 3. I just had a fish jump here behind me. They're hitting the surface to get the dragonflies. So anyway, beautiful pond, 4 acres. There's an island out here. We planted, I think, 25 red buds on that island recently. Last time I was out there, they looked like they were doing pretty good. That is a hot spot for the geese to nest. So we've been doing our best to disrupt that. We don't need the Canadian geese. They are a nuisance, and they put down, I think, 5 pounds of poop a day. A piece, and that's all along the grass area that we want to be using and enjoying. So former owners had some nice benches they made out of milled lumber that seems like it's going to last forever. So there's a bench up there, and there's a bench at the other end, all the way back down there closer to the house. This was, when we pulled up the driveway, this site of this pond was the, sealed the deal. It's like, we want this land. We're willing to pay whatever we need to get the house, and we love the house even more. It fit the bill for what we wanted in terms of a country cabin to get out of the city. So this pond, we sit out here and float. We were just out here, my wife and I were just out here the other day, and we were floating out here. And every time I'm out here, I just feel like I got to pinch myself. It is just absolutely gorgeous out here. Year round. We come out here when it's frozen in the winter. I did a really cool drone video last year while it was snowing, flying up over these pines and out into the other areas of the property. If you watch some of our habitat management stuff, the original kind of 80-acre habitat Oasis is out that direction. My lone pine area that I'm working on right now is kind of straight through here. So really cool area, very private. Nobody with a residence. Closest one is my neighbors, which are out past the house the other way. So this is the pond. We got a little boat that we like to take out and fish in, and I use that for some of the treatment. I need to drag it up out of the weeds to get it cleaned out so I can get some stuff treated today. We're fenced here because the former owner had cattle, and so we get some wildlife up here, but not so much. And this is one other thing. We've got these new overflows that we had put in a couple years ago. The guy that's working on my retaining wall built a retaining wall there and put in overflows here. There's 2 of them that go through there. They're kind of like the backup, because up here where you can see this spare piece of fence, which we use as a backstop on some of our to hold our targets when we're shooting sometimes. There's a overflow up here, and it just couldn't handle the volume of water that comes down through here. We've got a couple thousand acres of watershed or more that come down into this pond, and that overflow couldn't keep up. You can see it right there, and this whole bank would flood. When it flooded, it washed out the bank on the other side, and so I was desperately trying to figure out how to keep this dam from washing out. And you can see here, there's a big cast iron pipe that comes out. It had a hole in it, so the water was draining 4 feet back, washing all this out. And then this retaining wall I had built by this gentleman that's doing the retaining wall out by the pole barn. These blocks are 73 pounds each. So these guys were handing and climbing up and down this thing with blocks. And I backfilled behind it with all kinds of dirt, debris, concrete debris, construction debris, poured in bags of concrete. So I think we've got it held pretty good, but it is kind of the narrowest spot on the dam here, and access is somewhat limited everywhere else. So this is our favorite spot out here. My boy loves to dig creatures out of the pond. He uses a rake and rakes up the muck and catches all kinds of stuff. Turtles, crayfish, frogs, salamanders, occasional little bluegill fish. So this pond is just super duper healthy. It takes time. About every 2 weeks you need to be out here. I don't remember if I mentioned it before, but I was paying $2,000 a month to have it serviced. It's probably not a bad deal, actually. I mean, forking out $2,000 hurts. I got other things I'd rather spend my money on. I know I can do it, but the continuity of having them here every 2 weeks to take care of it, peace of mind that they knew what they were doing, was great. But I'm taking it on myself. I found some folks to help consult and give me some help with the decisions on what I needed to do, and that's what we're doing. So, as I mentioned, I'm going to leave the products down below. We'll be tackling floating algae today, and that's the goal, and get out here and do some mowing as well. Thanks a lot for watching. Hit that like and subscribe. I hope you have a great day, and I will talk to you soon.
Outdoors is always in season. 1, 2, 3, go! Go!